we were talking about Geno Smith being the same age as Carson Wentz the other day. Geno Smith incentives 186 yards for $2 million.
Okay.
He needs 186 for $2 million this week.
So you take his over on passing yards.
He needs to record a completion rate of 69.755% or higher for another $2 million.
Oh.
He's currently at 70.2.
That can't.
Check down Charlie.
But he can't. That can't. 3% in one game like that?
No.
How bad could it be?
He's at 70.2.
No, I know. He's up at 70.
Yeah,
0.5. 0.5. 69.7.
Oh, 69.7.
Yeah. 69.7.
Oh, yeah. We are going to be checking
and then
down.
$2 million if they win. So he's going to be handing off and
$6 million.
checking down. Yep.
$6 million.
Just bet the Hawks, man.
Yeah.
Bet the Hawks.
Is he gonna be pressing?
His passing total is crazy. 248.5. It's high.
You bet Jimmy G. Sean McVay.
Here's what's interesting about their decision, and maybe we should have talked about this game in actuality, is like the Rams could play either the Commies or the Packers. If they lose, they play either the Vikings or the Lions.
Right.
If I understand that correctly,
Right.
considering his history, McVay's history, who has kind of opted out of playing in these games, what an idiot, right? Who would ever rest their guys? Not like this guy hasn't won a fucking Super Bowl. You would have thought in this scenario he'd break the trend, but he hasn't.
Maybe he watches Greenlight. He's got the hangover theory down. He knows the Vikings will be coming off Detroit.
Well,
Nice.
maybe so. But I also think it might be a thing where, and that was good. It was a good callback, Matt. But because I have no idea how that trend is going.
Yeah.
Like I totally gave up on that trend. Now everybody doesn't want to steal it from me. That was so fucking funny early in the season. But I think Stafford. I don't want to speculate, but he hasn't looked great the last couple weeks. Like this might be a scenario where you're just getting your guys a rest because a healthy Stafford, he might think it doesn't matter. The difference between kind of how they match up against each team. They lost to Green Bay at home in a game where Jordan Love threw a pick 6, and they lost anyways. I don't know if they feel great about that matchup. They beat the Vikings. They took the Lions to overtime. The Commanders, I think they would get after the Commanders in the pass game. So I kind of feel like McVay, in his own way, he knows how he feels about each matchup, but I think what supersedes that is the health of his team. And another interesting thing about the Vikings, since we're talking about the NFC and this whole thing, did you know? I didn't either. They're the oldest team in the league per snap.
Did not know that.
That's crazy. Learned that on the ESPN. This is what's going on this weekend thing. So credit ESPN. But that's interesting. So they really could use the bye in a way that we don't think about. But this is an opportunity for Stafford and the Rams, and he trusts his quarterback, and I think his receivers, and I think he thinks, hey, we can get back on rhythm.
And Sean McVay is probably saying we've scored 12 points, 19 points, 13 points last 3 weeks. We're not here just to make the playoffs. We're here to win the whole thing. And we're going to have to get through these Lions, Vikings type teams at some point. Let's do it when we're 100%. And he probably thinks he can win this game with Jimmy G too.
That's the point. And I think it's also knowing what you got in Jimmy G at this juncture, valuable to him. And Jimmy G gets a chance to, again,
Right.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting one there, but obviously not really for much of anything.
Well,
unless you're the Rams, and you could. It depends on who you play.
And aside from Gino, Seattle's not playing for anything themselves.
No. But when the quarterback's chasing incentives, everybody's gonna be on the same page.
So, completion percentage. So Charbonnet over.
Yep.
Receiving. Yeah, probably. I would think so.
Cortland Sutton, also 82 yards. He gets $500,000.
I love that guy.
How can you not?
That's what
Shows
stood
up
out to
every
me
time.
about Pro Bowl voting.
Yeah.
Jerry Jeudy, like, are there no more AFC receivers?
There's
Brian
Brian
Thomas Jr.
He made the Pro
Preaching
Bowl.
to the choir.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yes,
Jerry
Gary
Jeudy.
Jeudy made the Pro Bowl over. We'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, Mike Evans needs 5 catches for 85 yards and gets $3 million. Zach Ertz, he had the big week last week. If he gets 9 for 90, he gets another 500K.
Sick.
Josh Sweat, he has 8 sacks. If he gets to 10, he gets another mil. And then 11's another 5, 12's another 5. Zadarius Smith needs 2. He would get 250. Von Miller, get him a sack. He gets 1.5. Calais Campbell gets 300 grand with a sack. Dante Fowler Jr., give him 1/2 of a sack. He gets 375 grand.
Oh,
1/2 just needs
for
a
guys that haven't made as much money since early in their career like him,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like I'm sure over the last couple of years the paychecks have not been. I mean, it's all great. We're all talking about, like, it's incredible. You fall on a quarterback and you know you got a single family home. Hey, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts. Nobody's saying it's fair, but it is fucking fun. It's good to root for these guys.
Oh, it's great to root. Like, do you think he's going around the locker room, the other rushers, and he's like, "Hey, look, just hold the quarterback up
Yeah.
just a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me get my hand on him. Give me that half. I'll give you 20."
I think everybody's aware of it.
Yeah.
And there's very few ways that you can affect an outcome very directly
Right.
in favor of somebody else. But I suppose the scenario it comes up in, and I actually got a phone call from somebody recently who's still playing, and they had a sack and there was some incentive thing, and he's like, well, if somebody else got half the sack, I might turn it in. Like, how do you go about doing that? Like, you know, like just call you for some advice because I know you've been through that.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you got to turn it in.
Yeah.
I was like, and you got to go tell that guy that, hey, I'm going to turn this sack in and we might end up splitting it or it might end up being mine. In that scenario, I'm going to pay you. And when I hit my incentive, I'm going to pay you again.
How much?
I can't say.
And that goes to an NFL office statistician to look at the tape to
It always
To
goes
assign
to,
the
yeah,
sack
it always
correctly?
goes to, yeah. And fuck, the code used to be, hey, we're turning in sacks. Like, you know, like, but you have to go up to the other guy, look him in the eye and be like, hey, I'm going to take some food off your plate or attempt to because it's food on my plate.
is that in the D line room watching tape? Like, by God, I got half of that.
Yeah,
And
something
is there
like
a
that.
counter offer?
Paraphrased.
Like, could you go to the dude and be like, hey, I'm going to report it? And he could be like, nah, don't. Here's X.
So I've done that. One time I blew up a tight end, just blew up. It was Vernon Davis. Just walked him back, threw him out of the way, and in very me fashion, sacked Troy Smith or whoever it was, but kind of missed the sack and held on. And James Laurinaitis runs in, oh, my sack. And, you know, he gets up, does the animal routine. I'm like, fuck, man. So we end up splitting it, I think. And I needed that half because this was a year where incentives mattered. And for me, this is how I feed my family. This is how I keep all the fans. You know, you talk about sacks not mattering. Well, ultimately they do. Perception is reality. You know, that's all people seem to care about. So, unless you're voting for the Pro Bowl this year. But it ended up being a thing where I went up to James and I was like, hey, man, if you don't turn that in, I will pay you. And that's what I did. I paid James not to turn it in. Now, that's not illegal that I know of. There's nothing governing that process, but he didn't turn it in. Now, by the letter of the law, there was probably a 50% chance that sack was going to him. But tough shit.
Well, talk about perception being reality. That's why even if you get a little piece of somebody, you get up and start dancing like crazy.
That's all guys do.
The statisticians upstairs are like, oh,
But
man,
we don't. That's kind of against the bro code.
Must have been that guy too.
That's against the bro code. If you don't have a case for a sack and it's like a true JOP, like jump on the pile and you get up and do the celebration thing, like it's kind of a funky look. Now, if you're 50-50 or if on the field, because a lot of times you feel like you made the play, but you didn't. And if it's an honest mistake, no problem. But like I play with guys who would they would try to dance. No questions asked. if they're even close, you know.
Poop
And
in
then
the
you got to
pod.
like beat them. You got to like beat them to the hash. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep.
It's a Wild West in there.
Yep.
Trust the Process 34 asked in the chat, how often do teams just pay out incentives to a vets that is close or that is resting week 17?
I don't know of guys getting paid when they're shut down and resting, but I can tell you, like, you've seen it.
No, I even think that'd be a salary cap
I
violation.
think it would probably be a violation.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure there's ways that you can get taken care of on the next deal in good faith, but that's not really the world we live in as independent contractors trying to, squeeze everything you can out of this particular contract. I can tell you all types of stories about, playtime incentives, sack incentives, that sort of thing, but it's pretty interesting.
But, was it Bill when you were in New England? He was
Yeah.
generous with your playing time in week.
Well, he does like letting guys play.
Yeah.
So I've learned in being his colleague, not only playing under him, but like talking to him about it this week. And I thanked him on Inside the NFL. I was like, and by the way, thanks for letting me get my incentives. And he was like, no problem. But no. It's that kind of thing.